Night had settled gently over the quiet streets of London. The houses stood close together, resting beneath the soft glow of the moon, as if the entire city had agreed to fall asleep at once. In one of these houses lived the Darling family. The nursery was warm and peaceful, filled with the slow rhythm of breathing. Wendy Darling lay in her bed, her eyes half closed, listening to the hush of the night. John and Michael slept nearby, their dreams drifting softly through the room like feathers in still air. At the foot of the beds, Nana, the faithful dog, kept watch. She lay quietly, her gentle presence wrapping the children in safety. Nothing seemed out of place, nothing seemed unusual, and yet something magical lingered just beyond the window. Wendy stirred slightly. She did not know why she was awake. Perhaps it was the moonlight slipping through the curtains, or perhaps it was the feeling that the night itself was listening. She turned her head toward the window. The curtains moved, just a little. Wendy's heart did not race. She felt no fear. Instead, a calm curiosity filled her chest, like the gentle beginning of a dream. A small figure stood just outside the open window. He was a boy, no older than Wendy herself. He wore clothes made of leaves and shadows, and his hair shimmered faintly in the moonlight. His eyes were bright but kind, playful but gentle. This was Peter Pan. He had come quietly, as he always did. Peter never liked loud entrances. He preferred the soft kind, the kind that blended into dreams. Behind him fluttered a tiny light. It hovered in the air like a star that had wandered too close to Earth. As it moved, it left a faint trail of golden glow. This was Tinker Bell. She circled Peter impatiently, her wings humming softly like a lullaby made of light. Peter stepped into the nursery, landing without a sound. He looked around with interest, as if seeing everything for the first time, though he had been here before. Many times before. He smiled. "This is it," he whispered, mostly to himself. The nursery. Tinker Bell darted toward the beds, inspecting the sleeping children. She hovered near Wendy, tilting her head, then floated back toward Peter. Peter nodded, as if she had told him something important. Wendy slowly sat up. She was not frightened. Somehow she felt as though she had been waiting for this moment, though she could not remember why. "Who are you?" she asked softly. Peter turned, surprised but pleased. "I'm Peter Pan," he said, as though that explained everything. "I came to listen to stories." Wendy blinked. "Stories?" "Yes," Peter said, "about fairies and pirates and places where children never grow up." His voice was light, but there was something gentle beneath it, something almost wistful. Wendy smiled. "I tell stories every night," she said, "to my brothers." Peter's eyes sparkled. "I knew it," he said. "That's why I came back." "Back?" Wendy repeated. Peter hesitated, just for a moment. "I've been here before," he said carefully, "a long time ago." Wendy felt a strange warmth in her chest, as though she were remembering something she had never known. Tinker Bell zipped closer, her light dimming and brightening as she moved. She seemed impatient but not angry, just eager. Peter glanced at her. "Yes, yes," he whispered. "We won't be long." He turned back to Wendy. "Would you like to come with me?" he asked. "Where?" Wendy asked, though she already felt she knew the answer. "To Neverland." The word itself seemed to float in the air, glowing softly. "Where is that?" Wendy asked. Peter smiled. "It's the place where dreams live," he said. "Where children stay children. Where stories are real." Wendy looked at her brothers, still asleep. She looked at Nana, guarding them faithfully, and then she looked back at Peter. "I can't just leave," she said gently. Peter nodded. He understood more than he let on. "Just for a little while," he said. "You can come back before morning." Tinker Bell fluttered in excitement, sprinkling a few glowing specks into the air. They drifted downward slowly, like golden snow. Peter held out his hand. Wendy hesitated, and then took it. The moment she did, something light and peaceful filled her body. Not excitement, not fear, just a soft, floating calm. "Think happy thoughts," Peter whispered. Wendy closed her eyes. She thought of bedtime stories, of warm blankets, of gentle nights that never rushed into morning. Slowly, very slowly, she felt lighter. The nursery seemed to drift away beneath her. She opened her eyes. She was floating. The room glowed faintly around her, wrapped in moonlight and magic. Peter floated beside her, smiling, steady and calm. "You're doing wonderfully," he said. John stirred in his bed, murmuring in his sleep. Michael turned onto his side. Peter glanced at them. "They're coming too," he said softly, "when the time is right." Tinker Bell circled them all, her light pulsing in a slow, soothing rhythm. Outside, the night waited. The window opened wider, welcoming them with cool, peaceful air. Wendy felt no rush, no urgency, just the gentle pull of something kind and far away. Somewhere beyond the stars, Neverland waited, not in a hurry, not calling loudly, just waiting, patiently, like a dream. And with that calm thought settling in her mind, Wendy floated closer to the open sky, her heart light, her breathing slow as the night carried her gently toward sleep. The night air felt cool and gentle as Wendy floated beside Peter, drifting quietly above the sleeping city. Below them, the rooftops of London stretched out like dark shapes resting under a blanket of moonlight. Nothing hurried them. Nothing called them back. Peter moved easily through the air, as though floating were the most natural thing in the world. Wendy followed, calm and light, her thoughts slow and peaceful. "Are you tired?" Peter asked softly. "No," Wendy replied. "I feel very comfortable." Peter smiled. He liked that feeling. He liked when people forgot about time. Far below, the streets grew smaller. The sounds of the city faded into silence. Even the stars seemed quieter here, blinking slowly, as if they too were growing sleepy. Tinker Bell hovered nearby, her small glow pulsing gently, never too bright. She moved in slow circles, leaving faint trails of light that disappeared almost as soon as they appeared. "Where are we going?" Wendy asked, her voice barely louder than the night. "To Neverland," Peter said. "It's not very far when you know how to find it." "How do you find it?" Wendy asked. Peter thought for a moment. "You don't look for it," he said at last. "You let it find you." They drifted higher, passing through thin clouds that felt like cool silk. Wendy closed her eyes for a moment, enjoying the sensation of floating without effort. When she opened them again, the sky had changed. The stars were brighter here. The air felt warmer, softer, as if the night itself were welcoming them. Below, an island appeared, surrounded by quiet, shimmering water. "That's Neverland," Peter whispered. The island rested peacefully, wrapped in moonlight. Gentle hills rose and fell like slow breaths. Dark forests stretched quietly toward the sky. A soft mist curled along the edges of the shore. Nothing moved quickly. Nothing felt dangerous. Wendy felt a deep calm settle over her, heavier and warmer than before. Peter guided them downward, slowly, carefully, as though he did not want to wake the island. They landed on a grassy hill that felt cool beneath their feet. The grass glowed faintly in the moonlight, each blade swaying gently, even though there was no wind. "Everyone is asleep," Wendy whispered. "Yes," Peter said. "Neverland sleeps when it wants to." They walked quietly along a narrow path. The air was filled with soft nighttime sounds, distant water, gentle leaves, the quiet hum of insects resting between dreams. Tinker Bell floated ahead, lighting the path just enough to see without disturbing the calm. Soon they reached a small clearing. In the center stood a group of tiny houses built into the roots of old trees. Their windows glowed faintly, warm and golden, like candles left burning through the night. "The Lost Boys live here," Peter said softly. "Lost?" Wendy asked. "Only a little," Peter replied. "But they like it that way." Wendy smiled. From one of the houses came the sound of slow, peaceful breathing. From another, a soft murmur, like someone dreaming aloud. Peter watched quietly, his expression gentle and still. "They sleep very well here," he said. Wendy felt something warm in her chest, a feeling of care, of quiet belonging. She followed Peter farther into the clearing, where a fallen log rested near the trees. They sat down together, listening to the night. For a while, neither of them spoke. The island seemed to breathe around them. The stars above drifted slowly, tracing calm patterns across the sky. "Do you ever sleep?" Wendy asked at last. Peter shrugged lightly. "Sometimes," he said, "but Neverland dreams for me." Wendy leaned back slightly, resting her hands in the soft grass. She thought of her nursery, of Nana, of her brothers sleeping safely. The thought did not make her anxious. It only made her feel peaceful. "You can stay as long as you like," Peter said gently, as if he knew what she was thinking. "Neverland doesn't mind." Wendy closed her eyes. The sounds of the island grew softer, blending together into a steady, soothing rhythm. Her breathing slowed. Her thoughts drifted like clouds across the night sky. Peter watched quietly, smiling to himself. Tinker Bell dimmed her light, hovering close, as if guarding Wendy's dreams. Above them, the stars continued their slow, patient journey. And on the quiet island of Neverland, beneath the calm moon, Wendy rested peacefully, drifting deeper into sleep while the story waited, unhurried, ready to continue when the night felt right. Morning never rushed into Neverland. It arrived slowly, quietly, as if it did not wish to wake anyone too soon. A soft light spread across the island, gentle and pale, like the memory of a dream. Wendy opened her eyes and found herself still resting on the cool grass. She felt calm, warm, and deeply at ease. Nearby, Peter Pan sat cross-legged, watching the sky as clouds drifted lazily above. "You're still here," Wendy said softly. "Of course," Peter replied. "Neverland doesn't send people away unless they want to go." Wendy smiled and slowly sat up. Around them, the island was beginning to stir, not with noise, but with quiet movement. Leaves shifted. Birds stretched their wings without singing. Everything seemed half awake. From between the trees, small footsteps approached. A group of boys appeared, moving softly as if they knew the island preferred silence. Their clothes were patched and simple. Their faces were calm and curious. "These are the Lost Boys," Peter said gently. The boys stopped a few steps away and looked at Wendy with interest. "A girl?" one of them whispered. "Yes," Peter said. "Her name is Wendy." The Lost Boys smiled one by one. There was no shouting, no excitement, only quiet acceptance, as if Wendy had always belonged here. "She can tell stories," Peter added. That changed everything. The boys sat down slowly, forming a loose circle beneath the trees. Wendy felt a gentle sense of purpose settle over her, warm and familiar. She began to speak. Her voice was soft, like the breeze moving through the leaves. She told them a simple story about a warm room, a glowing lamp, and children listening quietly before sleep. The Lost Boys listened without moving. Their eyes grew heavy. Their breathing slowed. Peter leaned back against a tree, content. "This is why I brought you," he whispered. As the story drifted on, Neverland seemed to listen too. The air grew still. The light softened. Even Tinker Bell hovered quietly, her glow dim and steady. One by one, the Lost Boys rested their heads and closed their eyes. Wendy's voice faded naturally, without an ending. The story did not need one. When she stopped speaking, no one asked for more. Silence settled gently around them. "That was perfect," Peter said quietly. Wendy felt peaceful, but also a little tired now. Not the heavy kind of tired, just the soft pull of rest. Peter stood and held out his hand. "Come," he said. "There's somewhere else I want to show you." They walked slowly through the trees. Sunlight filtered down in thin golden lines. The forest felt safe and old, like it had been dreaming for a very long time. Soon they reached a small hill overlooking the sea. The water below was calm and smooth, reflecting the sky like glass. A quiet ship rested far in the distance, barely moving. Wendy looked at it, curious. "That's Captain Hook's ship," Peter said calmly. "Is he dangerous?" Wendy asked. "Only when he's awake," Peter replied. Wendy felt no fear. The ship seemed far away, quiet and still, as if it too were resting. "Everyone rests in Neverland," Peter said, "even pirates." They stood together for a moment, listening to the soft sound of waves far below. Tinker Bell fluttered around them once, then settled gently on Wendy's shoulder. Her light was warm, not bright. Wendy felt her thoughts slowing again. The island seemed to wrap itself around her, comforting and kind. "Will I forget this place?" Wendy asked softly. Peter shook his head. "Not while you're asleep," he said. They turned back toward the trees, walking unhurriedly. The Lost Boys slept peacefully behind them. The forest breathed slowly. The sea shimmered quietly in the distance. Neverland did not ask for attention. It did not demand excitement. It simply existed, calm and patient. And as Wendy followed Peter deeper into the soft green shadows, her steps light and her mind at rest, the island continued to dream, waiting gently for the next quiet moment when the story would drift on once more. The day in Neverland continued gently, without hurry. Time moved differently here. It did not push forward. It simply flowed like calm water along a quiet shore. Wendy walked slowly beside Peter, following a narrow path through the trees. The forest was awake now, but only just. Leaves shifted softly. Sunlight rested lightly on the ground, never too bright. "Does everyone live in the forest?" Wendy asked. "Some do," Peter said. "Some prefer the water, and some like the quiet places in between." They reached a small hollow where the trees opened into a peaceful clearing. Smooth stones formed a loose circle around a low fire pit, though no fire burned there now. The air smelled faintly of earth and morning dew. "This is where we sit," Peter said, "when there's nothing else to do." Wendy smiled. She liked places with no purpose except rest. They sat down together. The ground felt cool and steady beneath them. For a long moment, neither spoke. There was no need to fill the silence. From far away came the gentle sound of water. Wendy looked up. "Is that the sea?" Peter nodded. "Yes, the sea is always nearby." As if invited by his words, the sound grew clearer. Wendy could almost imagine the slow movement of waves brushing against the shore in an endless, patient rhythm. Peter leaned back, resting his hands behind his head. "Some people think Neverland is loud," he said quietly, "but they don't stay long enough to hear it properly." "What do they miss?" Wendy asked. Peter closed his eyes for a moment. "The quiet parts," he said. They sat together as the light shifted slowly across the clearing. Tinker Bell hovered nearby, her glow soft and steady, never flickering too brightly. After a while, Peter stood. "Come," he said, "I want to show you something." They followed the sound of the sea until the trees thinned and the land sloped gently downward. Soon, the forest opened onto a wide, sandy beach. The ocean stretched out before them, calm and smooth, reflecting the pale sky above. The water moved slowly, as if breathing. Far out on the horizon, a ship rested quietly. Wendy recognized it from before. "Captain Hook?" she asked softly. "Yes," Peter said, "but he's sleeping." The ship did not move. Its sails hung loosely. No voices carried across the water. It looked less like a pirate ship and more like a shadow resting on the sea. "He sleeps during the day," Peter continued, "and dreams of being frightening." Wendy smiled at that. The idea of pirates dreaming made the world feel softer, less sharp. They walked along the shore, their steps leaving faint marks in the sand, quickly smoothed away by the tide. The sea paid no attention to footsteps. It simply continued its slow song. Wendy felt calm, but also thoughtful. "Do you ever feel lonely?" she asked. Peter considered the question carefully. "Sometimes," he said, "but Neverland keeps me company." Wendy looked around. The sea, the sky, the quiet forest behind them. "It feels like the island is alive," she said. "It is," Peter replied, "but it doesn't talk much." They stopped near the water's edge. Tinker Bell floated down and rested on a smooth stone, her light dimming as if she too were growing tired. The sun rose a little higher, though the warmth remained gentle. Wendy felt a familiar heaviness behind her eyes, the kind that came before sleep, not the kind that pulled her away, but the kind that invited her to rest where she was. "You can sleep here," Peter said softly, as if sensing her thoughts. "The island will watch over you." Wendy sat down on the sand and leaned back, listening to the waves. Each one arrived quietly, then faded away, making room for the next. Peter remained nearby, watching the horizon. Nothing needed to happen. Nothing needed to change. Neverland held the moment exactly as it was. And as Wendy's breathing slowed and the gentle sound of the sea wrapped around her thoughts, the island continued its quiet rhythm. Patient, steady, waiting calmly for the story to drift onward when the time felt right. The tide moved in and out with quiet patience, smoothing the sand as Wendy rested near the shore. The sound of the sea felt steady and reassuring, like a gentle promise that nothing needed to change. After a while, Peter spoke softly. "Come," he said. "The forest is cooler now." Wendy rose slowly and followed him away from the water. The beach faded behind them as the trees welcomed them back with shade and stillness. The air beneath the leaves felt calm and comfortable, carrying the scent of earth and green things resting peacefully. They walked without hurry. In Neverland, there was no reason to rush. Soon, familiar shapes appeared between the trees. Small homes, tucked carefully among roots and branches, stood quietly as if they had grown there naturally. The Lost Boys were nearby, though none of them were awake just yet. "They sleep late," Peter whispered. "The forest keeps them safe." Wendy felt glad for that. She sat down on a smooth rock while Peter leaned against a tree. Sunlight filtered gently through the leaves above, creating soft patterns that moved slowly across the ground. Tinker Bell floated lazily through the air, her glow dim and warm. She settled near Wendy, hovering close as though listening. Wendy felt a familiar feeling return, the gentle sense of being needed. "Would you like a story?" she asked quietly. Peter nodded. "So would they," he said, glancing toward the sleeping homes. Wendy took a slow breath and began to speak. She told a simple story this time, a story about a quiet evening, a calm room, and a light that stayed on just long enough to make everything feel safe. Her voice moved slowly, carefully, like hands smoothing a blanket. As the story unfolded, small sounds drifted through the clearing. Doors creaked softly, footsteps padded lightly over the ground. One by one, the Lost Boys emerged, rubbing their eyes, moving gently so as not to disturb the calm. They gathered around Wendy without speaking. They listened the way children do when they trust the night to hold them. The forest grew quieter. Even the leaves seemed to pause. Wendy's story did not rush toward an ending. It simply flowed, steady and warm. The words felt less important than the sound of her voice. Soon the Lost Boys settled down where they stood or sat. Some leaned against trees, others rested on the ground, eyes closed, breathing slowed. Peter watched with quiet satisfaction. "This is your place," he said softly. "Here." Wendy felt that warmth again, the feeling of belonging without effort. When her voice finally faded, no one stirred. The story had done its work. Peter stood and motioned gently for Wendy to follow him away from the clearing. They walked softly, leaving the forest to its rest. As they moved deeper among the trees, the light shifted again, growing softer, lower. The day felt like it was folding itself carefully, preparing for evening. "Do you ever want to leave?" Wendy asked. Peter considered the question as they walked. "Sometimes," he said, "but Neverland always finds me again." They reached a small rise where the forest opened just enough to reveal the sky. Clouds drifted slowly overhead, untroubled and pale. Wendy felt calm but also sleepy now. The kind of sleepiness that did not pull her away suddenly, but invited her gently. Peter noticed. "You can rest," he said. "The island won't mind." Wendy sat down beneath a tree and leaned back against its trunk. The bark felt cool and steady. She listened to the distant sounds of the forest, the soft rustle of leaves, the low hum of a world content to exist quietly. Peter sat nearby, keeping watch without watching too closely. Tinker Bell dimmed her glow and hovered close, her wings moving slowly, rhythmically. Wendy closed her eyes. Her thoughts drifted without shape. She thought of the sea, of the forest, of the small homes tucked safely among the roots. Neverland felt whole, complete. Nothing needed to happen next. And as the light continued to soften and the island breathed steadily around her, Wendy rested peacefully, wrapped in calm and quiet, while the story paused gently, ready to continue when the night felt ready once more. Evening returned to Neverland slowly, as it always did. The light softened, the colors deepened, and the island seemed to exhale after a long, gentle day. Wendy rested beneath the tree, her eyes still closed, her breathing calm and steady. The forest around her grew quieter, not suddenly, but gradually, as though the world were dimming its own lights. Peter Pan stood nearby, watching the sky change. Above the treetops, the first stars appeared, small and patient, blinking into view one by one. They did not rush. They never rushed. Tinker Bell floated upward, her glow faint now, barely brighter than the stars themselves. She moved slowly, tracing lazy circles in the cooling air. "The night is coming back," Peter said softly. Wendy opened her eyes just enough to see the sky. It felt familiar, like a favorite blanket being pulled gently into place. "I like it better this way," she murmured. "So do I," Peter replied. They stood together as the forest shifted into its nighttime rhythm. Leaves settled. Insects hummed quietly. Somewhere far away, an owl called once, then fell silent again. Peter gestured gently, and Wendy rose. They walked without sound along a narrow path, the ground cool beneath their feet. Moonlight filtered through the branches above, painting soft silver shapes across the forest floor. Neverland felt different at night, not darker, but deeper, as if everything that mattered had moved closer to the surface. They reached a small hill overlooking the island. From there, Wendy could see the forest stretching outward, the distant shimmer of water, and the quiet glow of stars reflected in hidden streams. "It looks like it's dreaming," Wendy said. "It is," Peter replied. "Everything dreams here." They sat down together, facing the open sky. The stars above seemed closer now, drifting slowly across the darkness. Peter leaned back on his hands. "Sometimes," he said quietly, "the stars tell stories too." "What kind?" Wendy asked. "Very slow ones," Peter said. "The kind you don't have to listen to." Wendy smiled and let her gaze soften. She did not try to follow the stars. She let them move as they wished. Below them, the lost boys slept soundly, wrapped in the comfort of the forest. Their dreams were quiet tonight, free of worry or noise. Far beyond the trees, the sea reflected the moon in gentle waves. The pirate ship rested in the distance, barely visible now, as though it had decided to disappear for the night. Everything felt balanced. Nothing asked for attention. Wendy felt sleep return, deeper this time. Her thoughts slowed, drifting apart like clouds that no longer needed to hold their shape. Peter noticed the change. "You're very good at resting," he said softly. Wendy did not answer. She was listening to the night, the steady hum of the island, the quiet promise that nothing would disturb her. Peter looked out across Neverland, his expression calm and thoughtful. He did not feel alone. He never did, not here. Tinker Bell settled gently on Wendy's shoulder, her light dimming until it was almost nothing at all. The moon climbed higher, the stars continued their patient journey, and in that peaceful moment, with the island breathing slowly beneath the night sky, Wendy drifted deeper into sleep. Safe, unhurried, held by a world that knew how to be quiet. The story did not end. It simply rested, waiting calmly for the next soft moment when dreams would open their eyes again. The night in Neverland had deepened, not darker, just quieter. The stars above seemed to move more slowly now, as if they were careful not to disturb the calm. The moon rested high in the sky, wrapped in a soft glow that touched the island gently. Wendy lay on the cool grass, her body relaxed, her breathing slow and even. The forest around her felt steady and protective, like a circle drawn gently but firmly around her rest. Peter Pan sat nearby, his back against a tree, listening. At night, Neverland spoke in very small sounds, a leaf settling, a distant ripple of water, the quiet rhythm of the island breathing. "This is my favorite time," Peter whispered, mostly to the night itself. Wendy did not answer. She did not need to. Her thoughts were drifting freely now, moving without direction, like clouds that had forgotten where they were going. Tinker Bell hovered close, her light no longer glowing, only softly present, like a memory of light rather than light itself. From deeper within the forest came a gentle sound, not footsteps, not voices, just the slow movement of the world adjusting itself for sleep. Peter closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, he looked peaceful. "Everyone is dreaming now," he said quietly. "Even the island." Wendy felt that was true. The ground beneath her seemed warmer, as if it were holding her carefully. The air felt smooth and kind as it moved past her skin. Far away, the sea whispered to the shore. The waves did not hurry. They arrived, paused, and faded, over and over, never changing their gentle rhythm. Peter watched the horizon. "The sea dreams of the sky," he said, "and the sky dreams of the stars." Wendy smiled faintly, though her eyes remained closed. She felt herself sinking, not falling but settling into the moment, into the quiet, into the comfort of being exactly where she was. Nothing asked her to move. Nothing asked her to think. The Lost Boys slept deeply beneath the trees, wrapped in peaceful dreams. The pirate ship rested far away, its shape barely visible, as if it too had decided to let go of its story for the night. Neverland felt whole, balanced, complete. Peter leaned his head back and watched the stars once more. He did not feel the need to speak again. The night understood him. Tinker Bell drifted lower and rested near Wendy's hand. Her wings moved slowly, keeping time with Wendy's breathing. The moon climbed a little higher. The stars continued their patient paths. And in that stillness, with the island holding its breath just enough to keep the night calm, Wendy drifted deeper into sleep. Safe, unaware of time, surrounded by a world that knew how to be gentle. The story softened, the words faded, and Neverland continued to dream quietly, waiting for the next soft moment when morning or night or something in between would invite the story to continue. The night in Neverland remained still, not silent, but gently alive. Wendy slept peacefully beneath the trees, her breathing slow and even, as if she were part of the island itself. The ground beneath her felt steady and kind, holding her without effort. Peter Pan watched quietly. He liked this moment best, the one where stories stopped asking for attention and simply existed. Above them, the stars continued their slow journey across the sky. They did not hurry toward morning. In Neverland, there was no need to rush toward anything. Tinker Bell hovered close, her light now barely visible. She moved only when Wendy's breathing shifted, as if she were keeping time with sleep itself. The forest rested, leaves no longer stirred. The air no longer changed. Everything had found its place. Peter stood and walked slowly to the edge of the clearing. From there, he could see the island stretching outward, dark shapes softened by moonlight, gentle curves of land and water blending together. Far away, the sea whispered in its endless rhythm. Each wave arrived quietly, paused, and faded away, never asking to be remembered. The pirate ship rested somewhere beyond the trees, forgotten for now. The Lost Boys slept deeply, wrapped in dreams that required no guarding. Neverland was complete. Peter returned and sat near Wendy once more. He did not wake her. He did not speak. There was nothing left to say. Sometimes stories did not need endings. They only needed rest. The moon climbed higher, then slowly began its quiet descent. The stars shifted gently, as if making room for whatever might come next. Morning or more night or something in between. Wendy stirred just slightly, then settled again, sinking deeper into sleep. Her thoughts drifted freely now, without shape or direction. Peter smiled softly. "You'll remember," he whispered, "in the way dreams remember." Tinker Bell dimmed completely, her presence now felt rather than seen. The island breathed once more, slow, deep, content. And as the night continued to hold everything gently in place, the story faded into stillness, not ending, not leaving, simply resting, waiting quietly for another night, another dream, when it would be time to begin again